February 7th, if you read it.
Motion to approve.
Need a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Kevin, you're here.
I am. Good afternoon. Anywhere you want to stand in particular, or just?
Oh, sorry, I didn't put the podium out for you.
Robin,
Good to see you.
are those
Okay.
packets for
Yeah,
this?
we're done.
Okay. So good, I have the February monthly report here covering our visits between the 1st and 29th of February. We made 4 monthly site visits during this period. We had 1 follow-up visit during February, check a residency of 82 workers. We had 8 non-compliant, 1 out of area, and 7 invalid IDs. Any questions?
Any questions for Kevin?
So what happens then?
In regards to the invalid IDs, so on the particular job, there are a number of individuals that had identification cards from Honduras. They did not have any documentation that stated they lived locally. The documents actually were, I found them to be fraudulent, what they were able to provide. So we threw that contractor off the project.
Oh, the whole contractor.
Correct. They brought in another, basically they subcontracted to somebody else. There was a subcontractor that was actually thrown off. They brought in somebody else that was able to provide sufficient
Gotcha.
ID to prove they were local, so that's what happened in that particular instance.
Right.
Is this Episcopal Senior?
It is.
Okay, yeah.
Anything else?
No more questions for Kevin? Okay, Greg, you
Have a
on?
good day, thank you.
I'm on?
Yep,
Great. I'm gonna go a little off script today,
okay.
all right? So, I thought it's, again, timing is kind of perfect. We have a lot of new board members, and the organization's changed quite a bit, so I put some numbers in front of everyone to see kind of where we were and where we are today in terms of what I would say high-level historical results. And I'll just comment, obviously it's pretty self-explanatory in terms of 2019 through 2023 in terms of, I try to bucket things in terms of our cash and our investments, our LF fund, our net assets, which in terms of not-for-profit is really equity, right? So for people who are in the for-profit world, that's really what that is. And then as you can see, our revenue and expenses, and I kind of normalize those to take out what I would say like our emergency loan and our micro loan programs, like the money that we're getting, just to kind of, we can truly see the real operations of the organization. And there's a lot of positives here, right? I mean, if you really look at it, we've really maintained our cash and our investment balance, but also we have contributed probably over $1 million, $1.5 million into our revolving loan fund over that time that is earning interest. So if you look at those 2 buckets, that's probably, it's about $6.8 million in our cash and our revolving loan fund. And again, that's about a $600,000 increase over that time. And as you can see, our net assets have gone up considerably as well. And the revenue side is, again, for a lot of you folks, it's, we always say, the 504 income is generally fairly consistent from year to year, depending on what that looks like, depending on what we bring into the fold, new loans and things like that. Where it gets a little bit, what I would say, lumpy is in our bond deals, right? And that really pushes things up or down and things like that. And you'll see where some of those transactions have affected our overall financial results. And then, our expenses, right? I mean, again, we were an organization that, spent a lot of money in a lot of different areas years ago. And I think we've taken a really hard look and paused some of those programs to really figure out as a strategy, as an organization, what do we want to do? Who do we want to be over the next few years? Now we certainly have the ability and funds to be able to, forge a path here and participate in things that, the board and the executive director and everyone, really have an interest in. And I think that's a good way to look at it. We certainly have, like I said, have the ability to do things. And I think it's been quite an interesting 5 years with COVID and the programs that we're doing. But I think if you look at these results, we've come out really stronger. And I would say it's a testament to a lot of the folks in this room who have been here from the beginning, and certainly be happy to answer any questions high level. Didn't want to get into the details of the normal financials, and I thought, again, timing is right because we're at the start of a new year, and there is a lot of board members who are new to the organization who I hope this provides a little bit of context to, and Certainly happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
So we're doing well. You didn't say that.
I didn't say that. We're doing very well, right? We're doing, I mean, again, very well, again, if you look at cash and things that we can do, and I know there's been talk about, hey, what are we doing with the RLF fund, right? Like, what are we doing? Are there other opportunities for us to in addition to the, the microloan program, right? Like, are there other opportunities where there's gaps in financing in the marketplace and the clients that we want to serve? Are there gaps there that we could take advantage of because we're in a fairly strong financial position? Certainly, leave it up to the board and the folks that are in this room to make those decisions. And but again, we're poised to do a lot of great things here moving forward.
Yeah, so my ongoing point is that that cash number should be lower, and either the loan number or something where we're deploying that capital for the purpose we're here should be higher.
Yeah. Now, again, and that's a good point. In historical times where interest rates weren't so high, right? I mean, again, I would say of that $5 million number, let's say millions in cash earning 3%. We have about almost 4 million in T-bills getting around, let's say, an average of 5%. So that's still really good, right? So Phil, the conversation would be, okay, if we want to be a little bit more diverse, is there an opportunity to take some of that invested money that is getting 5%? Can we go into the market and some opportunities that maybe gets a couple, 7% or whatever that is in today's environment, right? Like, but also there's a balance there. Like, hey, maybe we look to maintain the same level of return, but we're providing a new financing, opportunity that's in the marketplace. Maybe we say, hey, let's maintain what we can still get in a T-bill, and maybe we can base it off of that, but also get into a market or an opportunity that is a gap in this community.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, my point.
More loans, less cash.
My point is, economically or financially, the organization is incredibly strong based on its balance sheet and so forth. My question is, should that be our goal? Our goal should be to use that capital as much as possible to grow employment. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
And I came in late, sorry, but I mean, last meeting you mentioned the revolving loan fund. Is that what you're talking about again?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, that or other programs to consider, but again, revolving loan fund is something that is.
I can't remember what year it was, but somewhere along the line we came up with.
You should know. You've been here since the start.
I don't know if you were here. We came up with a new program that would be like I forget what we called it. It was like sort of, it was pseudo-mezz type lending, right? And somebody, isn't anybody that's here now, worked on that and put a whole package together, and we I think we approved it, but I don't think we ever did it.
Like a mezzanine financing type of.
Or it was supposed to be more riskier level. If there was a need for a gap in a deal and that kind of thing. But anyway.
Yeah.
Well, we got the staff here with us. They're listening to this conversation too, so I'm quite sure we can just crack the whip and ask them to do even more than what they've been doing, so we can satisfy all of this.
It's on the list.
Yeah. I think they're gonna do a good job in making sure that a lot of this money gets out to the door and it gets to good use. There's a lot of programs in the community that they're valid, they need supporting, and then also there's a lot of companies that they haven't heard from us yet, but they need loans. And so we'll try to get out and make those things happen. But the base here is that we're in good shape to do it. So, I mean, it'd be one thing if we didn't have the resources to do this, but we have it. So we could do a lot of, great things, you know, and we're even looking for, ideas from the staff, in terms of, how they see it also too, so. We want them to have a great, you know, latitude of input, and we see where we go there, you know. So the next time when Greg gives his reports over here, they might look a little different in terms of what we've seen today. But it does signal that we're doing pretty good here. So we were able to lay out a lunch for you. So when you don't see that table full, you know that times are on us, okay?
Our cup runneth over.
Yeah. Any more questions for Greg? Okay, last week, the audit committee met, and we wanted to recommend the audit report to the board that we take that, but there's a pending the final bond report and the Schedule K1 from the investment. When we get that information, we really think that we will be all right. But today, we do have our auditors with us, Tom Zuber, John Grinkowitz, and I don't know who's gonna, John, you gonna give the,
Yeah.
okay. Well, Tom is not here, just you.
Tom is not.
All right,
It's just me today.
all right.
You can sit, I think.
You can sit it off.
Yeah.
Great. So we met with the audit committee last week and had a good conversation, went through the results of the audit, financial statements, and what's going on there. And as mentioned, they're still in draft form because we are waiting for some additional information that we can't finalize the reports without. As they stand right now, we have a clean opinion, unmodified opinion on the reports, so that's what you want. Identified no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in the operations or the reporting, so very good there. I'm just going to touch on some of the highlights of some of the things we talked about, which some things already discussed today. You are investing in some U.S. Treasuries now, which is a very good use of the funds you have to take advantage of some better interest rates that are out there nowadays. The microloan projects, the new big project that's out there, $735,000 worth of new loans issued this year. Those funds are grant funded, so you're getting money from the county to pay for that. That's from their ARPA funds. Okay, overall your net position was up $1 million, $1,076,000, mostly attributable to very large bond fee this year collected from U of R for upwards of $700,000. Interest income was up about $100,000, again, just being able to take advantage of higher interest rates. And then the grant funds received for the microloan program, $735,000 for the loans and another $100,000 covering expenses. Okay, so overall you increased your net position by $1 million, almost $1.1 million. It's up to $7,580,000. And just to point out, $2.4 million of that is tied up in your revolving loans projects, okay? So you ended up in very good financial condition and able to continue to operate, so very good. Also, we issued a single audit report. So again, as I mentioned, the microloan program comes from ARPA money from the county. So when the organization spends or receives more than $750,000 in a year, we're required to do a specific audit of those federal dollars. We perform that audit to see if, to test to make sure you're in compliance with all the requirements that go with a federal grant. And we had no findings in that report. So that was a clean report as well. So very good job. We also issue our report on internal control findings and recommendations. And that was a clean report, and we had no recommendations this year. So doing a very good job. So everything was finished up very, very good this year. And I'll be happy to answer any questions anyone has on any of the statements or anything about the audit.
Anything? We're good? Well, we need a motion to accept the financial audit as presented. Now, this is pending the final bond report and the schedule of K1. Should we wait until that is done, or what's the?
No, I think we can make the motion to adopt it pending the further updates at this time. Neither of which we anticipate to be material.
Neither would affect the financial statement.
Not the audit themselves. One is a Paris update.
So we need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Jeff, you're on. You got here just in time.
The Finance Committee met last week, and we reviewed the changes to the handbook, employee handbook, and there's a few things. Is it on there?
Yeah.
Hi there.
Hi.
Anna, I don't know if you want to go through the highlights and the changes to the handbook, and these mirror all other Monroe County policies, but you want to just highlight some of it?
Sure, it's really just two minor changes. The County Department of Human Resources this past year introduced a new policy to help the county with recruitment and retention of new employees that allows new hires to take immediately upon employment. They have 5 days of PTO automatically. It doesn't roll over, but it's previously a new hire would have to accrue that PTO over time. So caused a lot of challenges for folks and caused a lot of people to decline employment with the county. So it's our practice at MCIDC to align ourselves with county HR policies. So we're taking that on for any new hires. And then the second policy, the county for a long time has had a vacation buyback program. So if for whatever reason you don't use your vacation and you don't see yourself using your vacation in any given year, there's a window of time in which you can sell back that PTO at a rate of 75% of the hourly. So it's a cash incentive. So if you're not going to take the time off, you can sell it back, and we'll buy back the time and provide payment to the employee. So those are the two changes.
And I think we need a motion to adopt that, right? So if I can get a motion so that we can adopt the changes.
I'll make the motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
We also reviewed the policies, the fees, the bond fee schedule for the year, and we made no changes to any of those things. And we discussed what you guys were talking about when I came in. So other than that, I think that's the update from the Finance Committee.
We're in a very comfortable place with our fees.
Can I ask a question? I didn't want to ask this in front of the auditor. So we still have, well, we wrote off Laser Max.
Yeah.
Do we still own it though?
Yeah, we still have it. We
Anybody ever check on her, or if it's still her?
Who, right, with
I can't remember.
Karen,
Susan.
Again, we generally receive correspondence from her around May every year that says, here's where we're at, and that's about the extent of it.
Okay.
The other investment is still at what we call book value of the Trillium. Same thing, we don't know, we haven't heard anything up or down on that, whether that's gonna change
Are they
materially.
still operating?
Yeah, I mean, well, Trillium, again, those are, the underlying investments of that are, I believe, they're convertible notes in auction direct.
Oh,
That's really where, what the assets are in that fund,
It's in that fund.
right?
Yeah.
And so we gotta peel back the layers. I would anticipate that us receiving, something probably within shortly, because K1s were due, that's kind of where we base our information off of, right?
Tell
So
me more then.
you got it. So we got it, we got it, and we'll update, when we have more to update on.
I wonder if we can get them to come in and, give us an overview of how the company's doing.
Who's that, our investment folks, or the people who we hold investments in?
Yeah.
I don't know if they would be really much help. I think we're probably at a point that we just need to really dig deeper on of what's going on here. And I think we did ask, we did ask last year. I mean,
What is it that they do? What widgets are, you know?
well, again, there's two things. LaserMax was a company that was operating for years, and basically,
Nice company.
I would think a fairly well-known company, probably 5, 8, 10 years ago, and they do laser products for the U.S. defense,
Right.
And had certain contracts and patents and things like that, and had opportunities, and it's kind of gone like that, but they're still operating. It's one of those things that we wrote off the investment. I don't remember exactly what that was. It might have been $50,000-$60,000.
Be interested to know, they don't have the governmental contracts anymore?
I don't. We don't really have much insight to that. I don't think they do.
changed quite a bit, I think.
Yeah.
In what they were doing.
Right. Because again, so we still have ownership in them. Like, we didn't forgive our ownership, but we wrote, like, in terms of our balance sheet, we were like, hey, if we get something, great. But in terms of trying to present our balance sheet, we wrote off that investment to zero. Because again, not sure what the long-term outlook's at. The other one is the convertible notes in a fund, and like I said, I think maybe, once we get the information back this year, we'll just have to be more diligent in trying to get them at the table, trying to say, hey, what's going on with this? It just doesn't seem like, every time we ask, no one seems to know what's going on with it.
Do you happen to recall how many years old each of those investments are respectively?
Ask Phil.
LaserMax.
This is
Way,
real
way,
old.
way,
Oh,
way
yeah, that's
back.
Way old.
That was probably 10 years before me.
That was.
Wow.
I think that was in
Lynn
the
Clark was.
1990s,
Oh, wow.
like 91, 92.
That's the 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
think-
old.
Yeah, it was 10 years before me.
And Trillium was a long time.
Yeah.
Talking 30 years old. Okay.
Yeah, it's been around, and like I said, it's changed hands so much. I don't even know how active Trillium is, and
Yeah,
like,
right.
you know how that goes. I don't even,
I haven't heard much about it either.
so.
I have a question, sorry to come a little late, but like any property that's in Monroe County that maybe has been turned over for tax purposes or tax liens, or maybe it was demolished home or something like that, that maybe Monroe County now owns the parcel of land, do we ever get involved in that? Like, could we take that land and do like a ground lease to someone who wanted to develop it, or maybe?
That's a
That
good
would be the
question. We're just in the process
We are.
now, in the very early stages of establishing the county's first land bank. So through the land bank now, there will be a mechanism by which the county can sell that land back, or the properties back, for the development of affordable housing. But
What if we kept the land and just leased it to
I
someone who wanted to
think,
develop it?
I've been before the legislature when we transacted, sold pieces of land or given pieces of land out to, that's a good, I'm gonna have to run down and answer you. That's a real property services,
On the
question.
MCIDC side, it would be difficult to accomplish just based on the powers and legal authority that you have. One of the issues is that really for-profit companies, your powers are limited, not necessarily by state law, but by the legislature. So that's one issue, to lease out to someone. And if you were going to lease to for-profit, they may want other additional incentives, whether it be tax incentives, and that would be on the IDA side of the ledger. So I think for the foreclosure, tax lien, that process, the land bank would be the right one to warehouse it until the development opportunity comes. And then maybe it's closer coordination with the IDA and IDC if the opportunities arise for a development after the land bank has access.
Very good.
No problem.
Any other questions?
I do. So, this is also an audit, but I don't want to ask. So,
Now you're asking me.
I don't know, are you?
Yeah.
Should I ask you?
No, yeah, for sure, for sure.
So if you go to page 17 of the footnotes, or 26 of our page. Maybe this isn't for you.
Yeah.
So you see where it says, small business micro loans,
Yeah,
and it went from 1,861,000 to 714. Am I reading that right? Yeah, I'm reading that right.
I see it.
Original loan, 1,861,000, and now the balance at 1231.
That was at the correction. It should say, I believe, 861,500 was the principal balances that we loaned out in 23.
So
and
this is a mistake?
Yeah, yes, I would anticipate, right?
Does our auditor know
I good catch.
that? And then my other question on the same page is the Taylor Square Associates LLC loan, or whatever you wanna call it. So, we talked originally when we approved that it was more of a, equity investment than should we think about writing it down?
Listen, I don't know if you,
Wait, hold on,
I
what's
couldn't
Phil's
hear the
question?
the question's about the Taylor Associates loan of $500,000, which is the former Hickey Freeman
Yeah.
property, whether, you know, right?
So is that going on, or I don't even know anything?
It's under construction.
Yeah, they're building it.
It's under construction, yeah, and I think that the company that Tom James,
Yeah,
which is headquartered in New Jersey, is taking over operations of Hickey Freeman.
Oh, is that
It's
right?
acquiring the equipment, and there's a lot of skilled labor there, a skill set that you can't really find anywhere else in the United States
Yeah, sure.
this day and age, so I think Senator Schumer helped facilitate this connection, and anyhow, there was supposed to be some sort of a ribbon cutting or groundbreaking or an announcement that got postponed, but it's my understanding that that's still in motion, and that the whole idea of workforce housing within the facility as developed by home leasing through this Taylor Square project is still underway. That being said, it's not a bad idea for our team to reach out to Brett Garwood over at Home Leasing and get a status check on that project. Because yeah, that was a pretty attractive deal that we as MCIDC offered them, in light of the extenuating circumstances facing the company, facing the facility at the time, so.
They are making interest payments on the construction, during construction period, they do make those. It's nothing, but.
So
We'll get an
it sounds
update.
like it's gone a little sideways from when we did it, and when we did it, I thought it was,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah,
you're probably never gonna get that money.
right.
It's a grant.
Yeah, I think it's, something that we'll probably, once it gets a little bit farther, probably have a conversation on hey, long term. Because again, if
reserve?
if we're not gonna get it, then let's make sure the financials, because I think right now, I don't think we quite know, but I think this year will probably be a very telling year.
Especially when things are going well.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
we'll add that to our to-do list. Thanks, Phil.
Sorry.
Do we want to adjourn the meeting now, or what?
No.
Are you done?
Oh, we can keep going?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, Zach, you're next.
All right, I'm next.
Governance.
All right, governance met last week as well. Really, there's only one recommendation that I'll get to, but the rest is just readoption. So we need a motion for every one of them, right?
Yeah, I just got it.
Oh, you want to do it? Okay, well then I guess, do you want me to jump ahead to the recommendation before we start? And that's the local labor policy. And Barry, do you want to talk
Sure.
about that? It's just giving us leeway, basically.
Yeah, so there's a couple changes that were recommended to the local labor policy. The first of which, the reason why we were making the recommendations is to bring this policy consistent with COMIDA's local labor policy, so that there's not distinctions. The two sort of main changes are bid posting. So any bids, if we're doing a tax exempt, I should clarify. We also put language in here that clarifies that the local labor policy only applies to taxable and tax exempt bonds. That's always been the practice, but we just clarified it in the policy, so there's no confusion that it could apply to other types of projects. If there are bids, they want them to be placed in the Builders Exchange of Rochester Plan Room. That's a database that contractors and other people locally have access to, so that if there's bids, they'll be posted there. The other sort of change is regarding exemptions for warranty issues by a manufacturer. And the point there is that while that would be an exemption from using local labor, we could require the use of either apprentices or pre-apprentices or someone that could be trained locally to do that work if possible. So those are the sort of two sort of substantive changes. The rest of it's sort of cleanup. We put in corresponding language about what would be required documentation for any of the exemptions. But again, that was just clarification and not like substantive changes. Any questions?
I don't have a question, it's more of a comment of something that I think maybe for both local labor policies, for COMIDA and MCIDC, that should be looked at is when, like, it's something that we're going through with our G&E now, is if it comes in conflict with like a state, like for example, the Project Izzo in Webster, there's a $20 million Fast New York grant that is rolling through COMIDA. We as the contractor have to meet MWBE goals and a local labor goal. So if those two come head to head at any point, like, because there's not as many state approved MWBEs, if those come to head, which one supersedes the other? I think would be just a great clarifying point, because Fast New York, they're hopefully re-upping it for another 100 million. Hopefully the governor sees the success of the project and that program grows substantially over the next few years as well, but I would expect we'll have more Fast New York items coming into Monroe County in the future.
I think that would be an instance, and Robin, if I'm going in the wrong direction. So where, if the state's MWBE requirements were flying in the face of our local labor policy on the COMIDA side, we would have a conversation with you about a waiver under one of the various provisions that COMIDA grants waivers. I don't see that ever really being an issue on the MCIDC side, because bonded projects for not-for-profits, I mean, perhaps it could become a question, but let's see if it becomes an issue on
it might not
the
even be an
Fairlight
issue.
project, and then, you know, maybe we can talk about it, but it's a good point, it's a good point.
Yeah, and I think we'd want to put that into the exemption for, you know, the number 4, right? The no local labor available, with the understanding that if there are no MWBE certified, state certified firms available that could, you know, be available for this job, then we'd want to look at it under that existing exemption. But to your point, you know, there is going to be overlapping requirements, and you're going to have to obviously comply with both to the maximum extent possible. But yeah, I think the waiver process is not intended to be read, you know, so strictly that you couldn't comply with either one.
Sounds good.
So we've got 4 motions here. You saying we can do them all at once?
Yeah, I think we can approve them all at once with the local labor policy changes, because there's been no other changes to the other policies or the other charters.
You know what? I think I'd like to do them one at a time.
It's your prerogative.
Let's go with the first one here. Motion to re-adopt the bylaws with no changes. Need a motion. Need a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. No. Okay. The next one, motion to readopt the mission statement and approve the performance measure report.
I'll move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next one is a motion to readopt the committee charters with no changes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the last one here, the motion to readopt the policies with changes to the local labor policy as reviewed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we had the board evaluation, and the governance committee reviewed that. There's no action needed, but we did have a discussion in terms of looking at the board evaluation summary. For the new board members that came on, it was a little, wasn't really clear to you all because you haven't had the purview of the board of being on it. But I guess going forward, as we do these things, hopefully there could be maybe a little bit more discussion. And the other thing also too, for the new board members and for seasoned ones, if you think that there's anything that we need to cover in terms of a board training, anything that you would like to see, we would like to have that put forward. And hopefully next year, when we do the board evaluations, you know, across the board, everything sort of went good. What was it else? I don't have the chart in front
Chart?
of me, but,
The big thing was the training.
right.
And that also came up, Comida, your sister board does the same evaluation every year because it's required by the authority's budget office. Those questions are actually developed by the authority's budget office, and we submit them as part of our Paris report every year. And the same thing came up, you know, not knowing that we are providing board members with sufficient training every year. So as staff, we're gonna come together and identify where we can fill that gap and what's the most straightforward approach. Every year we attend conferences in Albany where we meet with some of our counterparts from across the state. A lot of them do have local development corporations and IDAs, and we bring some ideas and thoughts around best practices back home, and we can do a better job of sharing that with the board, and then making sure that the board has access at their fingertips to educational materials about, you know, the history of MCIDC, the bylaws, the mission, vision, values, all of that it's available to you at any time. Sharing the employee handbook with board members as well. Information about our investment policies, all of that stuff. So I think it's an action item for staff to, you're right, when a new board member is onboarded, they go through an orientation process, and then years go by, you're on the board and you're not asked to go through an orientation process ever again. So doing some annual refreshers on who are we, what do we do, and how can we do our job better as MCIDC, I think is a good takeaway for staff, and we'll be putting some ideas together for the board.
There's also talk of a planned retreat in Puerto Rico, but we'll give you
All
more
expenses paid.
details on that later. Anna, you want to do the Paris report?
Sure, I don't have a ton to share, just that staff is working diligently overtime. Allison and Robin have been working on Saturdays actually to compile the information necessary for the Paris report. It's due by April 1st to the comptroller's office every year. But because of the sheer volume of documents that are required and kind of the arcane electronic upload system that the ABO has established for people to comply with Paris, it takes us a little bit. So it's never been an issue when we've submitted a few days after April 1, but we'll keep you posted. Just know that we're working on it in earnest. And the MCIDC Paris submission is always a little bit more straightforward than Comita's. That can be a little bit unwieldy for us.
So we never can take the report from last year and just update it?
No. They don't make it that easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you gotta start right from square one with it?
Some parts of it, like you have to do all your bond reporting, that carries forward. The revolving loans carry forward, the SBA loans carry forward, all the great rates, great rebates, those have to be re-inputted every year. There's all, the financial information needs to be put in every year from scratch. It's tedious, it's a lot. We'll send you, we've said it before, we'll send out the link once it's submitted. It's a rather large document, several hundred pages.
Well, we've got our trusted assistant at the end there.
That's right.
Just give it right to her. Yeah. I think you're ready to take that on.
Right, well, that's our goal, yeah.
Well, we look forward to, I want to say hearing it, but really we don't look forward to hearing it. But, there's other business, a microloan update.
I'll dive into the microloan update and then I can defer to Tony and staff on filling in some additional details. I don't know that I've actually said this to the full board yet, but so because of interest rates being so stubbornly high, even keeping our microloan program at prime is precluding some small businesses from wanting to borrow money because the perception is that it's too expensive even at, what is prime now, Tony, 7-8%?
8.5%.
8.5%. So that's too expensive for many business owners, even though it's the rock bottom minimum. So we, thanks to Tony's analytical skills and number crunching capabilities, and we consulted with the county executive's office, with the law department, looked at our contract that we have with the county around ARPA, determined that we can lower that interest rate. We're not stuck at prime. And Tony was able to work out how much can we lower that interest rate such that the program can be sustainable beyond 2026, which is the ARPA expiration year. And we're moving forward with the county and making an announcement, and so hopefully you'll be hearing about MCIDC in the news, and Hanif will want to solicit a quote from our board president, but reducing interest rates to 5% for small businesses and then 4% for certified MWBEs and service-disabled veteran-owned businesses. And we think and hope that that will increase the desirability on behalf of businesses to apply for these microloans. I don't know anywhere else that's lending money out for that.
So these applicants are coming to you and they qualify or whatever, and then they find out what the rate is and they say, no thanks?
Well, I don't think they get quite that far. I think it's more, before they go through the whole application process, they see the rate and, it's a high rate to them. It's a high rate and I'm stuck at it for 5 years. So when rates start to drop, I'm still gonna be up here.
Correct, right. And
So what do they do as an alternative then? They don't go forward.
Hold off on moving forward.
And part of our challenge is that the $4.8 million that we, Allison, keep me honest on the amount of money that we're supposed to be lending out, $4.8 million that we are under contract with the county to lend out, that those dollars have to all be expended by the end of 2026. So if we don't have sufficient volume of loan applicants, we're not gonna be able, we're essentially gonna have to either ask the county to repurpose those dollars and find another way to spend them, or we're gonna have to give it back to Uncle Sam. And we'd prefer to find a viable use here in Monroe County. And I think that by lowering interest rates, making an announcement about it, committing ourselves to public education about the program, and doubling down on our mission to onboard applicants and then help them get ready for bigger and better lending opportunities like the 504. That'll help us get to that $4.8 million mark by end of 2026. And that's not to say staff hasn't been working, going above and beyond. Like, our numbers are great, and we are where we would hope to be, but just finding that the interest rates remaining high is it's a factor that is keeping business owners that have needs for working capital from coming to the marketplace.
What is the interest rate right now?
8.5.
So on the funds that we got, that they don't have any sort of requirement that interest rate needs to be tied to any specific index. We can give it out at 5, to your point.
Yeah, and the original agreement that we had with the county, we were permitted to go as low as
I think we had a floor 4 and
4%.
a ceiling of 13.
Yeah, 4 to 13%, and we have worked with the county to
We're gonna remove the floor.
remove the floor on that.
So if we ever wanna go lower, we could.
Yes, yeah.
Bargain basement.
Can we offer variable rate loans? Can
But we do wanna keep the program alive, so we don't necessarily wanna charge a 0% rate of interest. So.
Or could we offer variable rate if we wanted?
I don't think we wanna do that.
Yeah, I mean,
That's part of our agreement too, is that they're all fixed.
Okay.
I mean, I think 5's a great start, and then if there's not the interest you need, you can drop it, but if you're a business and you're saving 3.5% a year, that's.
But in order to
Right.
do that, we have to announce it with some fanfare.
We do.
And that's the education piece. You can drop it and it's like folks haven't even heard of it.
Right. People aren't
They
guessing.
they might as well have heard 8%. But if it's raised up on a flagpole for everybody to see, and it's lauded that this is a perfect opportunity, it's just the way that we roll it out.
Right.
Raquel and her team have a whole media campaign that we're working on, so they are like on that
Right.
as far as social media and ads and, yeah.
Right. We have funds set aside for the marketing, and we wanna do print advertising, hard copy, as much as we do electronic and radio, and then we're gonna be doing a ground game as well. April 30th, so the first week of May, historically, the SBA designates that week as Small Business Week, and we always do something here in Monroe County to celebrate. April 30th, which is the first day of the first week of May, we're gonna do a small business resource fair over at MCC, and we're gonna roll this out. And
I really wish we could have a testimony for someone that was thinking about applying for the microloan, but the 8% was too high for them. The 5% was right for them, you know, in some type of way, you know?
Yeah.
And it made it to where, you know, they would take the risk, you know, to go after the $50,000. Something along that line.
right, and I should add too that the lower rates will be retroactive to the companies that have already come through and been approved for loans, so we'll be adjusting those agreements with those small businesses. But yes, testimony. we've
Wow,
got-
now that's good news. That's even the bigger
So
news.
when we say retroactive, no one's getting any money back, it's just, they're gonna be going forward. Yeah, and it's a one-time thing, we're not gonna do this if we change interest rates again, we're not gonna ever go back again, it's just, we only had a handful of people at this, so.
Wow. Sounds like good news. Yeah. We have anything else? Small business fair?
Yeah, so I just mentioned that on April 30th, and Raquel and her team are working on this. Raquel, do you wanna speak to this? Because this is really, you're behind the whole
So
initiative.
you know, last year we did the announcement of the microloan and had folks here. There were a lot of community partners that wish they were part of the festivities, but we didn't have room. So the venue is being changed over to MCC. We have, right now, 20 tables that community partners can partner with us to provide information about their programming. We have all of those confirmed, plus the additional one that wishes to be part of it, so they're trying to figure it out. And so we're also asking for the community partners to do micro presentations. So pick something from their portfolio that is most incentivize small business and do a micro presentation. So they can come up to our tables, get information, but we'll also have a set aside for folks that are really interested in a particular product or service to have that presented to them. And then hopefully we'll have some announcements, like we announced the interest rates, the lower the interest rates. I don't know if we'll have a promotional video, but Mark has been tying up with Craig and, well, I should say, Shamika and Chad and Tony to line up those testimonies. So let me mention those. We actually this week highlighted a business that had a microloan flight from downtown. Yeah, is that east? It's right here in Mount Cornell. Yeah, what street is that? Exchange. I want to say east. Exchange. And so we'll continue to do that, do testimony from folks using the micro advantage and why it was important to them. So that first one went up Monday. And then more about the fair as we get the agenda, get confirmed partners, just to make sure that we lock in the venue at MCC. So it should be a good event for small businesses. So it'll be us, Radco, Ibero, Pasto, so just name some of the few, consumer credit counseling. There's a whole list of folks. If you're interested, we can pass that along to you. But it's shaping up good.
Thanks, Raquel. So we did this last year for the first time, as Raquel pointed out. We did it here. We were space limited, so kind of kick it up a notch. And we've also really focused on expanding our social media presence. So Mark has been the driver behind that. So we're trying to put our best foot forward on the marketing front. Thank you.
We should sell on it. If we offer rates that low, that would be, you know, you imagine people getting that money, you can't get it any cheaper.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that I think it's going to be really well received. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we need a motion to adjourn. If there's not anything else, make it to where you can break and join the lunch. Is there a motion?
Okay.
Second?
Second.
All right. We'll see you on April the 10th.